guys want to take a seat,
Okay.
we're going to do a short intro. Thank you for joining us in this very interesting place. If you are curious to learn more about the H0 house and residency, ask us after. I actually live here for another 4 weeks. And so we're going to give you a quick short intro. We are Upside. My past company I started was Branch, and I did that for 10 years in the mobile deep linking space. And I struggled as a CMO to understand what's working. So we started a mobile attribution company. We are part of the current batch. We are going to tell you a bit about Upside. It's going to be under 3 minutes. Me. And what is Upside? We are the only forensic revenue attribution and intelligence platform. What is forensic attribution, you may ask? We came up with it. And it's basically looking at your data a different way. Data is incomplete, messy, duplicated, unorganized, poorly structured, siloed, and it resides in many different systems. So if you have bad data, you use bad insights. So what do? We take a forensic approach and we use AI, and this is us. We are basically your data detectives, and we clean, enhance, structure, organize, unify, aggregate, and provide insights with the data to tell you what really happened and where to spend your next dollar. And Alex is going to give you a under 2-minute demo.
Okay, doing this in under 2 minutes is actually really challenging, but I'm going to try very hard. So we have to do every Monday. This is our mission control center for this forensic data model. We can quickly find the interesting things that have happened with any deal. So here's an example. Pied Piper here has been trying to talk to Fuji for over 3 years. We can see that the first couple of deal cycles, as shown by these red bars, didn't really go anywhere, but this green one finally worked. And just by eyeballing this velocity line, we can tell that there was something different the third time around. But we can also see that the sales and marketing teams, as represented by this other line, have been trying the whole time. This represents all the things they were doing to try and get the GUI team's attention. And traditional attribution models are going to miss a lot of this detail. They really struggle to make sense of the noise. So if we wanted to piece through everything that's happened for over 3 years, we could do that, but nobody has that much time. So we've trained an agent team to do it for you. And we can look at an example of what that agent team comes up with when given the request, please tell me where this deal came from. So here we have a very dense view. If you know any product designers, I'm looking for one. But some of the key important things here is it gives us the source opinion. What actually drove this deal? It was a website chatbot conversation, but they've been reading the blog for years. So that's important to know. It will tell you a much longer summary, but even more important, it's going to cite its sources. So we don't run into some of those challenges with AI hallucination and it just making stuff up. Here we actually have the specific things it's pointed to. This is the kind of forensic analysis that just wasn't really possible before, but it's also the kind of thing that you definitely can't get by uploading a bunch of data into ChatGPT. And it would have, in the past, probably been an analyst looking at this for hours. Our agent team can do it in about a minute. But we also know that everyone is looking for aggregate data. So, of course, we also have dashboards. You can select any campaign that you're looking for, and it will tell you which accounts were engaged and how many people and which opportunities were influenced. And if this sounds like the kind of reporting that you or a team that you know might be interested in, please come and find us after the demos.
So, thank you for learning more about Upside. Now we're going to go to the panel, and instead of, I have intros for each of them, but I actually think it's better if each of you give your own intro. And let's start with Melissa. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you are right now, and maybe the size of your team, and one AI tool that you've been using recently.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Melissa Trapiga. I'm CMO at Red Canary. Been there for about 3 years. Let's see. My team is about 30 people with majority of the team on the demand gen side, as you can imagine. And AI tools. So I was telling Mata that I'm kind of lame. I feel like I need to be able to branch out beyond ChatGPT and Google Gemini, but as a cybersecurity company, our IT team keeps us on pretty tight guardrails there. But I think one of the cool use cases that I've seen is our creative director actually was using ChatGPT and Google Gemini to do some analysis of our G2 and Gartner Peer Insights reviews. And I just thought it was a really great way for someone who's in a normally not analytic role to actually be able to access, understand the customer, and then make really great insights. So I really appreciate how it's helping different teams do more outside of their scope and get smarter and better as marketers.
I'm Rich Rogers. I've got 2 jobs. I'm the CMO of a cybersecurity company called ExtraHop. I'm also an operating partner at Crossman Capital Partners, which is the PE firm that also owns ExtraHop. So I'm kind of my own boss, which is a weird experience to be on my board and tell me to stop spending money when I want to spend it. I've been doing this crazy thing for about 35 years. My current team now at ExtraHop, their marketing team is 38 people. Relatively small company, we're about 300 million annual, and hoping to almost double that this year, so we'll see. AI tool I use most recently, the first use of just regular notebook LM in Google. So one of the first things I did when I got there was ask my web team there, like, what are our personas? And we just banged on versions of Google Notebook every time, and it came back with just hands down every persona, micro persona, like so much better than they had ever written or paid outside consultants to write them. And then also really looking at doing a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to build manually that these folks are doing in terms of multi-dish attribution. There's a bunch of stuff that I built before that I think is just probably commercial off the shelf now. Or should be if you get out of here in 4 weeks. So.
Hi everyone, Stephen Daniels. I'm VP of Go-to-Market Operations at Cresta. We're AI for the contact center, Series D. Been there almost 4 years, so almost at my 4-year vest. Responsible for insights, analytics, data, go-to-market strategy, operations, deal desk, and then also procurement across the company. So anyone who wants to sell me, which has already happened, please come talk to me. We'll have fun negotiating together. Favorite AI tool? I mean,
Offset.
Yes. Upside is amazing. Like truly it's amazing because AI doesn't work if the data is shit, and what Upside does is organizes the data and makes everything very accurate, believable, and also reduces kind of the leaky funnel or leaky bucket problem by getting all the touch points across every system, disparate system that Salesforce doesn't even have, and I'm a huge Salesforce person. So Upside is wonderful, and so without clean data, AI means nothing. And so that's something that Upside does really, really, really well. But I digress. On I'm a ChatGPT guy through and through. I've written 2,300 pages to it overall, so I use it a ton. But another fun tool I use is Suno, which allows you to make music. So I made many songs about my dog Manchego. So I would check it out. Yeah.
Stephen and I work together at Branch, so I have met Manchego.
Yes.
Well, he paid back. Upside should be something I should look at. I'm Manish Gupta. I've been CMO at 4 different companies, Redis, Sonar, Liaison, and most recently launched Talkly. They're all in the B2B dev tool space. Teams have ranged from a 10-person team to 50, a little over 50, and revenue ranges have been from, started Redis at about 12 million ARR, grew to 100, so we've crossed about 300 million at Sonar. So that's the range we've been at. I also managed the Java business at Oracle, which we grew to over $1 billion. That's a bit more background.
What's an AI tool that you're loving?
Yeah, so lots and lots of tools. Focus is one that I've enjoyed a lot recently, and it's an evolution from where they've been to where they are now. And I feel like there are lots of collaboration elements that they bring to the table. Intent signals are all over the place. How do you bring it and surface them so that can be consumed and packaged for better consumption by diverse roles in both revenue and marketing teams? And I feel like they're adding value sort of every day. The SDRs are able to do better, the conversion rates have gone up, and so a number of things. Yeah.
That's awesome, great team. I'm Camille Ricketts. I'm a partner at XYZ Venture Capital. I am the one investor up here. I've been lucky enough to be, or I guess the one full-time investor.
You used to be a CMO, though.
No, I'm going to say that. I promise. I was going to say, first of all, that I'm lucky enough to be an investor in this company. But for the purposes of this conversation, I will speak from my former vantage point as the first CMO of Notion. I was there for the first 3.5 years and got to see it from, a valuation of like 1 million to 10 billion, and got to see like the full story there. And I've told Mata a number of times, but would have really killed to have this kind of visibility at the time that I was there. And now I'm on the other side of the table and have all of these companies who are constantly asking how they can also get this type of intelligence. And very fortunately, I have something to say. And then the tool that I'm most excited about, because I'm deeply biased, but if you haven't tried Notion meeting notes, you really, really should. You just go into your Notion workspace and type /.meet, and I swear it is the best recording, transcripting, meeting notes creator of all time. Yeah.
Why is it better than Zoom?
Why is it better than Zoom's notes?
Yeah.
Well, very much like granola. I'm not going to say a granola replacement necessarily. But you can blend it with your own notes, and then it seamlessly weaves it in. And then I would just also say, you can query the entire transcript if you need to, all of that.
Cool.
Yeah, so highly recommend.
Camille also owns Notion stock.
I have skin, deeply biased.
We're talking about purchasing Notion AI right now. With
Oh,
them, so,
fantastic.
yeah.
We can talk after this.
Okay.
This happens. It's B2B. B2C when I was running these events, there was none of this. But so how, we have 3 marketers, a semi-marketer / marketing partner investor, and a revenue ops person. How do you each think of your role? You each have like a slightly different background. How do you think about your role and the role of in driving revenue for a company?
You want me to start? You want to do this
We do
round?
not need to do that. We can just.
All right, so maybe just a little bit more about my background. So I came up through the CMO role in maybe a more atypical path. So I came up through PR and corporate marketing. So my spike is really more on narrative storytelling. But had the great fortune of being part of MuleSoft, where I met Dan, one of the other key folks on the Upside team, and grew that company through its IPO and then acquisition by Salesforce. So for me, I think my approach is always rooted in both story and strategy. So that's a little bit about how I approach things. And I think it's a really unique time to be a marketer. I think I admit already that I'm a bit of a laggard on keeping up with the cool AI stuff. I definitely need to get up to speed there. And I think more than ever, the fundamentals are really important. Do you understand what the growth strategy is? Do you understand what the go-to-market motion is? For us at Red Canary, it was very much about moving to the enterprise. So how do you actually set up the team to go do that? How do you do that in partnership with sales? And then how do you actually change your go-to-market engine? I think I was telling you earlier, or maybe it was Dan, that we had, when I joined, a team who was really addicted to paid search. And they were pumping a ton of money into it. And it made sense because at the time, the company was very commercial focused, meaning we were looking for a lot of smaller companies. But as we moved to the enterprise, the ROI simply just wasn't there. So one of the things that I did was just cut the team off on that spend. They were spending gobs and gobs of money. And I said, just turn it off. And they freaked out. And I said, let's just try it. Let's experiment with it. And let's reallocate those dollars. From that quarter on, till now, that commercial business without paid search has actually grown in terms of its pipeline. And I think it just proved out that even simple experiments that may feel dramatic can actually be worth a payoff if you're really aligned with the team. But I think CMOs need to be really prescriptive about what the team should do, because I don't think they would have ever stopped spending on it if that direction hadn't been there.
What's driving the growth if it wasn't paid?
Say again?
What's actually driving? I'm getting signs I have to be louder.
Oh, is that right? Sorry,
What's driving the growth? What drove the growth of the commercial?
Well, I mean, I think this is part of the reason why I'm really excited about what you guys are building is it's not any one tactic. It's a combination of tactics. And so for us, it was really understanding and learning. It was a combination of our community team, so very content driven, with kind of a core events motion, and then that inbound, outbound mix, right? Like, how do you partner with your ADR team to make sure that you're actually giving a surround message to your target accounts? So it wasn't any one thing, it was the multiple pieces, and so that was always the tussle with our former CRO. He's like, well, just give me more at-bats. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way in the enterprise. I wish I could, otherwise I think all of us would have a much easier time. I hope that helps answer the question.
Yeah, I can add to that. I think I've seen an evolution for the CMO expectation and the role when it comes to revenue. Over the last 10 years or so, it was very much about leads and QLs. Pipeline was kind of the North Star. Over the last few years, it's certainly been revenue. And what I find is the marketing teams, individuals get so siloed in what they're doing, they don't always connect the dots to what does my work do and how does it affect and connect to the revenue. They will stop at some point as far as perhaps pipeline, but not necessarily all the way to revenue. So I think it's a job of the leadership to provide that context. I think, as you exactly said, the context for the team as to why what they're doing matters and how it will drive revenue, not an incremental step along the way. I think it's really, really important to do that. And I've seen that evolution happen, and I think more of my teams in recent years have kind of started to operate with that mindset.
Sort of piggybacking on that, one of my favorite meetings that we ever had at Notion was the Monday revenue meeting, where all of the go-to-market leadership would sit in a room, and that included, like, literally everybody in order would report out a health score, which was the compilation of a number of different things going on in their particular function. But down the whole funnel would say, like, okay, this is how activation is going, this is how, demo bookings are going, this is how purchase is going for all of these different types of teams. And we would then be able to debug them together as, sales representatives, success representatives, and marketing representatives all in the same room. And having that type of ability to drill down into the details where things really needed to be fixed on a week-to-week basis, and having that type of shared context and visibility that could then be cascaded to the teams was just really, really vital.
Who ran that meeting?
The CRO at the time. Yeah.
Every week.
Every single week. And it'd be like, what's going on with churn? And then we would dig into it.
How much did you prepare for a meeting like that?
Usually the Sunday scaries were all about the Monday revenue meeting. But it ended up being worth it for just the amount of across the funnel intelligence that provided.
Sure, you have a double role, right? Like you're both investor and
Yeah.
How do you balance it?
Awkwardly. but yeah, my approach on the revenue side, I kind of came from the other end, which is I was a network architect at Oracle and switched over to marketing. So I come to it very much, especially from a revenue perspective, in terms of how do you build the big machine?
Yeah.
So I remember I was at my first successful small company was Palo Alto Networks. I was tiny. No, they were 180 million. We didn't have a CEO, and I was there from 180 million to 2.6 billion.
Wow.
So we did the nuts, right? But when I ran all of the go-to-market, the marketing, the field marketing, channel marketing, demand. And when I got hired, they had a CMO and the founder, and they said, look, we're going to give you this much money. We want this many leads. We want this many opportunities. And I was like, I'll make you a different deal. Give me the same amount of money, and we'll go get all of the opportunities. And the thinking was, and I was at SAP before, and I'd written a white paper that almost got me fired. But the thinking was, and I think this is really relevant to what you guys do, is that in the market we're in now, a lot of the traditional things that marketing would do to drive revenue, you don't have to do. The idea of dangling offers for people to fill in a form to get their information is just stupid, right? It's like your entire addressable market is known and knowable. Yeah. I'm selling cybersecurity. I can just go find all of those people and load all of them into my database, right? And then through terrible brute force using people like your guy here, you can then actually aggregate that information into interest. And so I think that's even more true now. So in that case, we managed to build a really big machine that worked backwards from the known audience. So instead of trying to dangle offers out, when someone responded, I knew who they were. And we used the same tactics you did. We primarily focused on, engagement with the technical buyer and getting them to do hands-on. There's no lead anything. There's no lead nurture, carefully groom them over time, pour 7,000 leads in the top and get 5 on the bottom and then call them and then 2 weeks later, no, forget that. Know who they are, get 30 people in a room, book 5 of them, nurture the other ones, right? And that motion, ran that motion over and over and over for 8 years. So I think you get very primitive things that work and then you scale them and you really focus on just that. And I saw a lot of the competitors we were fighting against out there trying to lead with brand only, or lead with message, and lead with just leads, right? And all these other things, and you can run circles around them if you're working backwards from the data itself.
You were ahead of the time. You were ahead of the rest of the market. Yeah.
Now
It's a bit different though, depending on the size of your deal, right? Like if your PLC like Notion was, maybe the lead does matter, and if you're big enterprise, maybe you think
totally different. This is B2B, Palo average deal size back then was about 35, 40K.
Yeah.
I'm at a company now, our average deal size is 150.
Yeah,
So it's a very different motion.
Yeah.
Right, you have to tweak the whole machine to the motion, and it's entirely inappropriate for SaaS at all. SaaS or B2C or individual buyer, they're completely unrelated. But in B2C with complex buyers, there's a particular, I think that motion works well.
Okay, Stephen, what do you think what your role is? But also, what do you wish the CMOs you worked with in the past did more to take part in own revenue?
Matt, are we gonna have a fight up here in front of all these people?
I was the.
Wow, I feel like this is a trap, right?
Feedback.
This is like radical candor. No, you can take it. I think really understanding the business holistically. So I think understanding what sales cares about, marketing, partner, SDR, CS, that whole funnel from the entire customer lifecycle, I think is critical. I don't necessarily think you didn't do that, to be fair, but I think that is.
I didn't at the beginning.
Huh?
I learned how to do that.
Yeah, at the beginning, certainly more focused on top of funnel and way too much focus in MQLs earlier on. I think that was the sign of the times.
Yeah.
Now it's all pipeline, and even for me at Cresta, it's very large deals, and so for us, pipeline, it's hard to wait for bookings that can happen in a year or two. So we're always looking at pipeline maniacally.
Who owns pipeline? You or the marketing hand?
Who owns pipeline? I mean, it's kind of shared, but I'd say one of the main owners is that guy right there, Mr. Chris Perpignani. Wave to everyone. But Chris, he's the pipeline king. He runs demand gen and sales development, and then our SDR team reports into marketing for our structure. So that's what Chris does.
I like pipeline king better.
Yeah.
We call him PK, So, but right now, what our CMO at Cresta does really well is he cares about every detail of the business, including pricing. He and I are in lockstep on pricing and how to position it to the market, what price point makes sense. He actually pushed us on our quarterly QBR to make it more of a revenue engine, where we had more of a specific focus on pipeline, but then we really expanded it and started to include renewals and known churn and different signals. And then we have that meeting quarterly with 20 or 30 folks, and that has been one of the best meetings I personally ever run in my career. That one of the sales enablement managers talked to me after the meeting and said, "Stephen, I want you to know that meeting is the best meeting of my career."
Wow.
And I said,
"What made it?
Well,
tell us the secret."
what made it? Chris, what's the secret?
What's the secret? I'll let you have it.
I think we go into a lot of we cover a lot of different sections, and we go into a lot of depth around things, and we build a uniform framework of how to talk about everything. So we all use the same nomenclature, S2, this, that. We don't go into MQLs or certain things that might only that most of the audience, especially in sales, won't care about. And it's a maniacal focus on pipeline, it's on bookings, it's on attribution, which will soon be bolstered with upside. Today it's more crude. And it's just we cover all bases, and we usually answer 10 questions on how is this how is new business trending, how is upsell trending, what's the win rate, are we slowing down, how is this new product line doing, how's the use case split doing, And so we go in with those 10 questions and then basically answer them throughout the deck. And it's very thematic, and we make sure to have a cohesive narrative and story, and I think that's really key. So I would say, yeah, those factors.
So, we're talking about revenue efficiency. I did not have this prepared, but I was thinking, what is one campaign that you think your company is running right now or just ran, or in your case, it could be one of your portfolio companies, or it could be something on Motion, that was very efficient, that drove growth, but also was efficient? And how did you know it was efficient?
I hesitate to share it.
Why?
Because I don't want you guys to steal it.
Oh no.
Tell
us!
Just whisper.
Speaking of flowers.
Do you want same order, or do you want to switch it up?
Whoever wants to go first.
I mean, for Notion, I would say, like, from my perspective, during the time that I was there, the most successful channel by far was influencer. And understanding based on traffic that we saw coming from UTM codes, et cetera, and the outlay of what we were putting out there, discovering brand new influencers who were going to speak to the value that Notion provided. We kept a really close eye on all of that and hired one of the best in the business to run our influencer strategy, who was incredibly data-oriented, and just saw how we could shift all the dollars into the influencers over time that were going to be the lowest cost but the highest yield.
For B2B, this doesn't happen very often. Like,
Sure.
how did you? Wait, where did this what?
And I do know, and believe me, the best headline that we ever got for me personally at Notion was from The Verge saying, TikTok team's newest obsession is enterprise software. I was like, this could not be the more perfect thing right now.
Awesome.
But what we did discover, because I do want to speak to all of the B2B folks in the audience, is that there are these niches of influencers for pretty much every B2B thing that you are building. And you will fall into your audience, which is going to be much bigger and wider than you could have conceived of on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram in particular. TikTok being the most efficient because the algorithm allows you to spend very little on an unknown influencer who then gets an algorithmic explosion.
So you paid, okay, wow.
Yeah, we called them sponsorships because we were very attuned to, we only want to sponsor people who actually do like Notion. We're not out there trying to push it on anybody or get them to say something that's not authentic. But over time, we were able to figure out which of those creators out there were speaking exactly to the right audience, saying the right message, and then shift more over time, and then find lookalike influencers after that.
Wow, okay.
It's very interesting.
Fascinating.
I can a little bit of context. So our business at LaunchDarkly is very complicated, right? We've got developers that are the actual users, the practitioners that benefit from the technology but don't write the checks. And so we have to get a VP of engineering, CTO, and so kind of have a bifurcated strategy of attracting and engaging folks. And what many propositions as a product marketeer, one of the biggest challenges, how do you resonate with the message that goes with the VP of engineering as well as the developer? They tend to be difficult. So we were leaning on risk. If you all remember, last year CrowdStrike had a moment that no company wants to have. And we actually had a solution that was going to address that exact issue of poor releases, software going to market that's not checked adequately, right? And LaunchDarkly has a solution for that. So we launched an initial awareness campaign, and we called it Bad Ship Happens. and we did a pretty broad investment across out-of-house stuff, lots of things that are very much a top-of-funnel awareness oriented. And then we brought it down to downtime ends here, right? And so we did two things. Downtime ends here is a VP of engineering mindset. You don't want things to go wrong, or a CTO or CEO mindset. But then we also did a parallel campaign to that, which is protect your downtime. That's for the developer. That you can go home on Friday night, not worry about weekends getting disrupted because something went wrong, because you've got LaunchDarkly by your side. So we kind of took the same approach of, stuff will go wrong, but if you have LaunchDarkly, it doesn't have to. And then a message for the executive and a message for the practitioner.
How did you measure this campaign? How do you know it was efficient?
Yeah, I think the awareness campaign is always harder to get, right? You don't get an attribution that's a direct one-to-one connection. On Billboard, they will never give you. But in aggregate, we did definitely see traffic increase, sign up for the self-serve trials go up, conversion on the website. We could see the CBR actually working much better on certain pages. So it's hard, as I was mentioning to you earlier, attribution is super hard. And as your breadth of channels increase, it gets more complicated, right? What does it look like? How do you measure? How do you deliver the value of that? How do you present to the board? What are they looking for? So yeah, lots of learnings.
Campaign question, probably best for the CMO.
I'm curious what your best campaign is.
Oh,
Well, you started, so.
All right, well, I'll share it. I'll share a couple. One of the most underappreciated teams in marketing, I think, is the field marketing team, because they're the closest to the field and they usually come up with the best ideas and can do pilots really, really fast. So our field marketing team is amazing, and they came up with, one of the field marketers on my team was a former ADR, BDR, SDR, however you want to call them. And she came up with this idea of doing a Wagyu cooking class. So basically what we do is we ship 2 Wagyu steaks to top accounts and usually some sort of key persona. And then we have a chef who actually guides them through how to make a Wagyu steak at home. And we give them one for themselves and one for like a partner or a friend. And then we do a little spiel as a part of it. It gets lots of love on social and people just love it. It's very high engagement and they feel really appreciated in a way that I think particularly for security analyst practitioners, like they have a grind of a job. And so it's like a little moment of luxury. And so that's a really cool campaign that we've done that is hugely successful. We do it every month now.
Wow.
We have our Red Canary Live series. So this is like, again, field marketing innovation. We started as doing these events, kind of like your typical, like go to some hotel or whatever. And so instead what they do is we go to a NFL stadium. We rent out one of the like spaces for like 100-ish people, like as part of like the suites. And then it's an event. We do like talks and all that kind of stuff. And then they get a tour of the field. And again, like high engagement. I think at a time where there's like a lot of AI hype and like demand gen optimization, that stuff is absolutely important. The high touch for us with each of these folks in person really helps, and it makes us really memorable. So those are the things that we're really leaning into.
My email address is.
Would you like some NDR today?
So very similar, and I think I'll +1 on the, especially if selling to a very technical, very demanding audience. Cybersecurity in particular, there's a lot of snake oil, right? And so that direct face-to-face thing really is wildly underestimated. I went from SAP to startup Palo Alto Networks. I thought I'd be coming in doing like multi-touch, multi-variant, online campaign. I spent 8 years running lunch and learns. And there's a reason for that. Like when I met with our founder, it's like, coming from a big company, I'm like, what is our unique differentiator? What can we say that no one else will say? And he's Israeli, so he's like, nothing, they would fucking lie. What do you mean by that? He's like, they'll lie. They'll just say they'll do what we do. And he's like, and it's actually true. If you're a startup competing with B2B, the big company can do everything that you do. They really can. It will suck. It's incredibly hard to do. Right? But they can do it on paper. And his point was like, don't say anything, just show them. Right? And so the first thing we did was like, okay, so I got like 35 little firewalls and I plugged them all together, and I got 35 actual prospects to somehow come into a room, and then handed them a list of everything you do on a firewall every day. There was no marketing. It's like, here's your sec job, do it. And about 5 minutes into it, the foul language started. Because they're like, this one rule is 35 rules on my Cisco firewall. Click, click. That's 35 different rules. This is impossible. I would have to do this on all of these different devices and for every single operating system. And you didn't need to tell them anything. So the first of those we ran, literally, I think literally 7 out of 10 people of those 35 asked for a proof of concept.
Wow.
And so we turned that into a hands-on technical workshop. 8 years later, my team was running 1,000 of those a quarter.
1,000?
A quarter.
Wow.
Around the world, directed through channel partners. And they never stop paying off, right? Like even then, like 20% of the people who come, and I think the moral of the story is if you get the practitioner in the room, if your stuff is genuinely better, marketing can get a lot of hall passes, but if your stuff is genuinely better, don't keep them away from them. Just let them use it, and then they will find an excuse to buy you. And I think all of the other things you try to do in marketing, like I'm going to position it, they really, especially the really good practitioners, see right through that. And eventually you do grow out of that motion. Eventually when you start to become the leader in your market, then brand matters because they'll come to you because you're the leader. Early on they don't care who you are. Like, show it to me, does it work? Is it better than my current process and worth throwing my entire process away or not? And you have to help them over that really quickly.
Taking notes.
Yeah, so any tactic that does that gets them to actually do the process themselves in real time somehow, like, believe me, like that is 45 minutes of their time, or in that case it was a 3-hour thing they'd come to. Like 45 minutes of their time, you can get 45 minutes condensed time with them and they're either prospecting or not. Or your product sucks or it doesn't. Right? And so I think really focus on that, like getting them to do the thing instead of any other positioning or other factors.
So, and last question before I want to open it up. AI is really actually changing the way everything is. I have this metaphor where I feel like we're on a boat and we're going towards a waterfall, and we have passed the point of no return, but we have no idea what's on. Like, we know we are going to fall down this waterfall, but we don't know what the waterfall looks like. How are each of you thinking about this, like, future and go to market, even your role or the role of the CMO or the VP of Ops? Like, how is all of this going to change, and what are you doing now to kind of prepare for that? I know it's a tough question.
I guess I'm the tool guy. I think you'll likely need less people overall, and you'll have an army of AI agents doing work for you. So I feel like, for example, like you want to fix lead routing or something, you'll have a tool that just does it with natural language, and that's solved, and it takes very little oversight, and it's like self-sustaining almost and keeps improving. Or any like different process, commissions, right, comp planning, all taken care of. Even like deal desk, for example, like all the negotiation that happens and how to do custom deal structures and all of that. All you basically just have these agents who are kind of like the front line who then can escalate to more subject matter experts and more higher level people.
So how do the subject matter experts become subject matter experts if no one's hiring them when they come out of school because they're too junior?
So I think that's a good question. It's a challenge. I actually feel really bad for folks who are just graduated and going into this world where a lot of the things you give to a more junior person can be automated. So the only way I think someone can really differentiate themselves is by being a master of using the AI tools. I think if they master that, then they can be very competitive on the market and be almost superhuman. So I think you need that. So one thing like Cresta, we mandate AI use. On my team, it's like, did you go to GPT? Did you ask ChatGPT? Always first. Mm-hmm. And I told the team, I'm like, there is no if we use it or not. Like you must use this because it's gonna future-proof people in a way. If you can learn the tools, you're still going to have a job, even though the white-collar jobs are in danger, but you have to be very, very proficient. And so I think it's just so important that everyone take the time to learn to use it in your day-to-day and still think for yourself, because it's only as good as the context you provide it. So you still need to be an expert on things and then use it as you're the expert, and then you're superpowered. And so that's what I would want to leave a lot of people with here is like, that's the key. That's how you stay relevant, so to speak. So.
I'll give a completely age-inappropriate answer here. I think a lot of the leaders, by definition, tend to be older. They're not very tool savvy. They have a lot of inertia that they're not ready to move and jump into it. I think transformation in AI, particularly in the go-to-market engine, is here now. And if you aren't, as a team, already investing and participating, and it's about tools, it's about processes, and it's about people. I think the younger generation is tools first. They are incredibly savvy, and what they can learn and adapt to is incredible, right? So when it comes to hiring, I actually have a bimodal thesis on this thing, which is you want kind of the understanding of the concepts in the business coming from the senior leadership, because it requires a lot of thinking and experience base, but you want the execution to come from the young generation, right? If you can map the two and put the tools together, you've got the magic formula. And 100% agree, it's going to be tiny teams. I don't think a marketing team 50-person to run $300 million or $400 million is required anymore. So it's a transformation that's here now, and I can see many of my peers asking the question, should I be telling my team to do this? I said, if you're asking the question, you're already running behind. Your competition's ahead of you. Right?
I just learned about the concept of tiny teams. The chunk of Barry coined that it's like a team that has more revenue than people. More millions in revenue than people on the team.
Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, one thing that we're seeing a lot of, and looking ahead to this waterfall, is people are going to start over time using more AI-oriented search. And so how do you as a brand who's trying to show up from an SEO perspective end up being ranked higher in what ChatGPT tells you that you should be paying attention to when you're looking for a certain B2B software tool? And I've talked to all of the companies now who are out here trying to pursue it from different angles. And there isn't, a silver bullet out there yet, and there is very limited understanding of how this is going to work. Some people are even in denial, saying like, oh no, that's not going to be a thing. But it absolutely, in my opinion, is going to be a thing. So as a brand, how do you think about meeting your audience when it's intermediated by this type of agentic web? And I think that the best teams are the ones that have an understanding that that is going to be a gradual change, but are still with their eyes fixed on that particular future and thinking what they're going to have to be able to do.
Any tips on writing content that AI agents will read and love? Asking for a friend.
Do you have the silver bullet?
I don't have the silver bullet, but right now, a lot of the models are attuned to what is highly ranked on Google because that's like the best signal that they possibly have right now. And so continue to succeed the way that Google has always allowed you to succeed right now, but know that there's going to be other data and other components that get woven in soon that are going to determine who gets promoted and who doesn't. And I that's a big question mark on a blank box.
Google's trying to figure out its business model, so it's...
What do you guys think?
So I love a good both and. When I talked about that creative director example earlier, I think there are two things that are true. One, it'll be even more important for us to let me back up. One of the things that I tell my team is we sell to people, not accounts. So for the future, until whatever robot future it happens, we're selling to people. So understanding them, getting back to the fundamentals of marketing is really, really important. Do you understand your audience? Where do they go to figure out what they, where are they actually going? For us, we had to do a lot on Reddit because that's where we were going. That was not a thing when we were at MuleSoft and Salesforce at the time. So adapting, but really understanding your audience and then using AI to get you smarter there. We had an offsite a few weeks ago as a team. So my marketing leadership team is our creative director, our demand gen leader, our corporate marketing leader, our product marketing leader, and then we have the community team that came along as well. We were able to have so much more discussion about our audience and what they care about because we were able to come in with all these insights because we used ChatGPT, we put all this stuff, we made the analysis really easy, so it wasn't death by slide, but more discussion. And I think that getting back to the root of what are we trying to solve for, but how do we do it more efficiently, more optimized, I think is where, at least so far, I've seen AI be really powerful for my team.
I can take a slightly different view from your, the jobs are going to go away actually. I guess this is my fourth catastrophic industry destroying event, right? I was there with software and then the internet and then SaaS, right? And all of those are going to destroy all jobs. I actually do believe two things are true. One, the majority of traditional roles, marketing, sales, go-to-market, are definitely in the way that they have been defined, and every innovation they've done in the last 30 years are going to go away. 100% dead, put a bullet in it, it's gone. You will not have fewer people, they will have fundamentally different jobs. And I think that attribution, what were very, very hard problems to solve that you could solve 10 years ago with 5 finished data scientists, you can literally just buy right? And so I think, you know, I think you have to just get past that and embrace it really quickly. I think one of the best ways to do that is to hire people actually who have never done this before. The great thing about hiring someone right out of college is they don't know the right way to do it, which means that they're probably going to come up with something you would have never thought of. And you need a little bit of both. You need some people with pattern recognition to go, no, try that, it will burn you, right? But not many of them. Like for the most part, like I really do think these AI native folks coming in are going to say things like, okay, let's get back to selling to people. You know, the things we talked about a long time ago that were impossible, like how can I do hyper local, you know, micro segmentation of people, right? You could, it's just a thing now, right? You just do that, right? So I think we'll standardize on a new set of jobs. I think we'll still need the same-ish number of people to do those jobs. I do think it's gonna take about a decade, right? And I think this transformation is easily the size of, like, no kidding, like easily larger than the internet. It's truly the size. It's like, this is what this looks like. And it's really cool.
Any questions? We have probably time for 2 or 3 questions from the audience.
There was an article today published, to your last one, by the founder of Anthropic. Did you happen to come across it?
I saw it on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah.
Apparently,
I saw
none of us
LinkedIn
have jobs
this morning.
anymore.
Ask the LinkedIn guys.
Yeah, LinkedIn. We can ask ChatGPT for a summary later, but you know, the short version is something like 20% of white-collar jobs predicted to disappear in the next 5 years. Right. I think it kind of matches a lot of predictions, and I spent a decent amount of time in private equity, and a lot of the last 3 years have been deleting jobs, unfortunately, because costs have run high and interest rates are high and money costs money. You know? And so when I think about that last topic that you were just talking about, I kind of have to wonder, like, over what time frame do you think that we will not be eliminating the number of roles, rather changing the roles? Because it feels to me, like in the last couple of years as a VP of go-to-market ops, rev ops, sales ops, et cetera, it feels to me that we are very much heading in a direction of not growth at all costs, yes, efficiency, and I don't see that changing in the midterm. And I'm kind of curious, if, you know, I want what you said to be true, deeply, but I guess like, what time frame would that have to be over for that to be true?
One answer. Work your way back from kind of primitives. I sell cybersecurity, right? The reality of that is I'm asking a highly technical human being to replace all of the processes that they do for cybersecurity every day and replace them with processes that involve my product. That's a big lift, right? I'm selling to people in what's called a SOC, right? You know, using Splunk every single day, doing a very complex job, right? So in that entire process of selling to them, writing all the software that I have to sell them, building the hardware I have to sell, and then replacing their jobs, what's actually going to go away? I don't need copywriters; they're gone, right? I just don't, right? You know, I do need, absolutely, I do need all of the core content tailored to the process of getting them to understand how this is going to be better for them, and all of the products necessary to get them to adopt it, successfully implement it, use it every single day. Most software that's purchased ends up on a shelf and fails because of that. The process of creating that kind of content is, most people suck at that. I can get really good at that now because AI can actually understand that. I can load that into Notebook LM and say, write me a practice document for a security operations manager, step by step to install my product and get to productivity in the first 5 months, and they can just freaking write it. Like, I can't hire those people, right? Getting that created is a job. Getting that packaged up into an assessment-led seminar they can go give to that person is a job, right? Those are all new jobs I didn't have before because no one could ever make that from the beginning. So I think when you really start to peel this back to real stuff, like, yeah, the people who just had a college degree and were just kind of doing generic knowledge work, that's kind of gone, right? But actual delivery of services, is more complex than that. And AI, in a variety of ways, opens up the ability to deliver services that we were never able to deliver before. And that gets really cool. Like, and I think that's true of other industries too.
Yeah, I can maybe add to that in a slightly different angle. You know, I think of it as two environments, greenfield or transformation, right? If you have the luxury, where you are on it today, building a team and you're starting the company, you can do it the ideal format for the people, tools, and processes, and you give them the most effective organization out there. But if you're running a 50% marketing organization that is helping deliver 200 million revenue, your charter is to get it $400 million in the next 3 years, it's up to the CMO to figure out what does that look like. Does the headcount go from 50 to 20 in that while you're still driving the revenue? Does it remain the same? And I think then the question comes in, you've got a tech stack that exists today that's driving $200 million. How do you evolve that so you don't disrupt the workflows, you don't disrupt the people's competency that is able to manage it today? So there's an incremental element of, is my Salesforce and Marketo stack still relevant? Or am I going to put Mutiny on it because there's personalization today, or there's a whole bunch of new personalization engines coming in, right? And I think it's those choices on tools, changes of process that will have an effect on the team sizes. And the transformations are the most complex environments, right? You may want to make a change today, but you're held back because people don't know what to do with the next generation technology. You don't know what technology you want to institute now without disrupting. I think that learning and evolution is what's going to cause slower adoption and implementation. The greenfield stuff will happen faster. So, taking it a step further, the disruption from startups to existing companies is going to happen at an incredible pace because of this reason.
Well, I want to make sure you guys have time to mingle. The dragons are swag, which is kind of a weird swag, but if you like it, take it. It's our logo. And the speaker software is going to be around for a bit, so if you have additional questions, come up to them. We have the space until 8:30. Thank you all for coming, and yeah, we'll all be around and chat. If you want to see more of Upside, Alex is gonna do demos. Yeah?
At the table outside.
Table outside. Okay, cool. Thank you all.